welcome to my channel. My name is Sky. I love to read spooky stories and I love all things paranormal, strange, and weird. So I hope you decide to hit that subscribe button and to hit that like button to this video. That would help out my channel greatly. If you enjoy listening to spooky stories, or better yet, if you have a spooky story you would like to share with me, please do email it here to the email down in the description, and I would love to read my subscribers' scary stories. I think that would be really fun. Very interactive. I hope you guys decide to stick around. So please, before you leave, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and also don't forget to like this video. It really does help out my channel here. It really does help it out. So thank you to all of those who have subscribed to my channel. I want to say thank you very much. You guys are awesome, and I appreciate every single one of you. Well, without further ado, I bring you our first spooky story. Let's get into it. This is The Doll in the Storage Room. True. When I was younger, I'd go visit my grandparents all the time. They lived in a one-floor house with an unfurnished basement. I never liked it down there. It felt small for a big basement. There was a little door down there that was for storage, and I always got a horrible feeling when going close to it. And let me add, this was a newer house that was about 6 years old. Now, during the time I was about 6 or 7, I felt so uncomfortable going down there, even when I was with somebody. I didn't like it. I remember going down there with my grandma to help with something. She had to run upstairs because someone rang the doorbell. She said she would be right back, and even though she knew how I felt about being alone down there, but I nodded and said okay. She was gone and I was alone, and I started to get a bad feeling in the pit of my stomach. I didn't move. I didn't want to. Even though the lights were on. Now this is where everything started happening, and it gives me chills. Oh. The lights started to flicker, and I started to hear noises, and what sounded like talking, and it was coming from upstairs, but in the storage room. Oh, that's creepy. I heard someone say my name. Here is the part that freaks me out the most. The voice sounded like my grandma. I was confused as hell as I'm hearing her when she's upstairs. I didn't want to move, but being the curious one that I am, I started moving towards the storage door. The closer I got, the worse the bad feeling came. When I got to the door, the lights turned off in the basement. Oh, that's creepy. I wanted to run upstairs and hide, go home, somewhere that wasn't the basement. I heard my name again for the second time, my grandma's voice asking me to open the door to help her, so I did, and I regret it. Oh, I couldn't see anything. It was pitch black. I couldn't hear anything but faint laughing that felt like forever. But then the laughing stopped and the lights turned back on in the basement. I felt a little bit better when the lights came on, but the downside, I could see a little in the storage room. Oh no. No, I saw a small clown doll, in the storage room. And my grandma hates clowns with a passion and wants nothing to do with them. So why is there a clown doll? I have no damn idea. Then the lights turned on in the storage room. I saw red that looked like blood all over the place. I screamed and blacked out. And next thing I knew, I was lying on the couch. My grandma looking at me and asking if I was okay. I have no idea if it was real or a dream, but it sure as hell felt real. If you have any ideas, please let me know. That is creepy as hell. Stuff like that like really creeps me out. Like when you go into like certain places, like whether it's like somebody else's house or like an old, if you've ever been in like an old cemetery, or like anything that has like a lot of dark history or past, or something that probably bad happened there, you can just like feel those vibes, if you know what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying. And it's so creepy. Reading that story gave me like serious goosebumps because it's just so creepy. I remember being a little girl and our neighbors very, very odd people. We didn't really know them. You know, they kind of kept to themselves. And I remember one night, we had a side patio door that led to our backyard or garage area. And then they had like a big side window, and we had a chain link fence in between our neighbor and our house. And I remember it was like probably around this time of year. It was cold outside. It was dark. My parents would always go grocery shopping on Friday nights, and I, being a kid, I'd go with them, and they would go to like multiple stores. So we got home, we loaded up all of our groceries, and me and my mom were getting ready to walk out the door. Well, me, my mom, and dad were getting ready to walk out the door. And I'm in front of my mom's behind me, and then my dad's like, oh, go ahead, go to the car, here's the keys. I need to go back, I need to grab something, go ahead and go to the car, I need to grab something, I'll be right out. And so I'm walking out, and it's like, I don't know, it's still so like creepy to this day. So I'm walking downstairs, and mind you, this isn't like an older neighborhood. The houses we lived in were probably built in like the 1930s or 20s. So these were like older homes. Just picture it. It's like cold and it's dark. And I think it was just right around Halloween or like somewhere right here around Christmas, Thanksgiving. I was really, really young, so I don't remember like the exact. I know it was cold and dark outside. So I'm walking down the steps and my mom's behind me. We get down to the little grassy area, and me and my mom hear like what she's saying, like chatter and talking or like whispering. We heard something that sounded like talking. It was the creepiest thing. And we both distinctly heard it because we both at the same time looked over at our neighbor's house at the window that was right there to see if maybe they had the window open or whatever. But both me and my mom, without even saying anything to each other, we instantly look over, and it stopped. Like, the chatter stopped. And I looked at my mom and go, did you hear that? She goes, yeah, I heard that. And we both said at the same time, sound like somebody was talking, It's just very, very creepy. So stuff like that. I've had certain experiences, especially when you have an experience with it being with somebody and you have like, you're not crazy. There's a lot of weird things that happened at that house. Like, I think right before we moved and after like that incident happened with my mom, both me and my brother and our friends, we were all playing out in our front. Our house was like the house to like be at and hang out at. And the exact same neighbors who lived there when both me and my mom heard that, they were still there right before we left this neighborhood. Me and my brother and my sisters were out there playing with our neighbors, and I think we were playing kickball or football. I can't remember. I think it was football because it was my brother and a bunch of his friends, and me and my friends were just like running around, hanging out. And I remember the guy who lived next door to us was, he was just sitting outside on his porch, and they had a porch swing. He wasn't like looking at us because the streets over here, his porch swing was facing directly like a different direction. And he was just like sitting there. Like, can you imagine somebody just like sitting there, just like no emotion, nothing. He was just sitting there. We kind of thought it was odd. We always thought they were, kind of odd because they were odd. Every time the football would like bounce into their front yard, my brother or one of his friends would run and go get it, and the guy that was sitting on the porch swing would like kind of get up. He'd act like he was gonna get up, and we're kids. We're like, whatever, kind of weird, whatever. But we're going about our business, and probably a good 20 minutes after playing outside, you hear police sirens coming. And these police sirens are coming, and sure enough, they come turn right down the end of our block, and they're coming, further and closer to us. So we get out of the street, and sure enough, they stop at my neighbor's house. The police show up, the ambulance showed up, the fire department showed up. The police go to my neighbor that's sitting on the porch swing. We didn't see it at the time because, he was kind of at an angle, but when he stood up, he had blood on his shirt. The guy had blood on his shirt. He had blood on his hands. We start freaking out. Like our parents are now coming out of their houses because it's like a huge scene. It's like a big commotion out there. The guy never once said anything. He never fought back. He just put his hands behind his back and they took him. They hauled him off. They go to the car that was parked in the front of the yard. You know, the houses where you can kind of drive up through the front and you have like a carport on the front or the side of your house. We had his car parked out there. They start taping off around the house, crime scene tape, you know, that yellow tape. Now we're all like real interested. We live right next door to these people, and like all of our friends are over at our house, like hanging out in our yard. We're just watching all of this go down. There's probably like a good 6 or 7 of us hanging out in our small little yard just watching it. And the police are going through the car, you know, they're opening the doors and they get the trunk and they open the trunk up. And then they tell all of us to go inside. They tell all the neighbors, y'all need to go inside now. And, you know, there's nothing to see here. And of course, none of the neighbors are going inside. Nobody's going inside. We were definitely not going to go anywhere. We were kids. We were curious. We wanted to know what was going on. They pull out a body bag. They pull out a body bag and they pull up, what is it? Like a tent, like a little pop-up tent over the car, or like partially over the car. They are taking out a stretcher. You can see them loading something up from the trunk of the car onto the stretcher. And then there, you can see it's a human. It's a body. It's a body. And they go in there. You know, they put the body onto the ambulance. The ambulance. They take off. Police and fire department still there. Then you have like the local news station showing up. And I've looked, if I can find it. If I can find it, I will add it into this clip. I have been looking for that story for the longest time, and it's a local news story. But they still didn't tell us what was going on. Obviously, they're not going to tell the neighbors what's going on. So we all knew that we had to watch the local news. And when it hit about 9 o'clock, we all went inside. Me, all my friends, we all went inside. We watched the local news and they were live. It was one of the first stories that was on that night. And it was a dead body. It was a dead body in the back of that trunk for a good, who knows how long. And the guy that they arrested was, I think, a boyfriend or husband. I think it was an affair. I think maybe he caught his wife cheating. I don't really know. But he killed that guy. I think he beat him with a baseball bat at one of the local parks that we would go to all the time. There was a lot of creepy things that happened in that neighborhood. My sister lived in a lot of, like, I don't know, strange houses. That a lot of strange things happened in those houses she stayed at. She's much older than me, so I was like a real small kid going over to her house and like seeing my nieces and nephews. And I remember hanging out one night. It was me, my brother, my sister, my other sister, you know, my sister who's married, and my brother-in-law and my nephew. And we're sitting there. I think it's like a Saturday night. We're hanging out. My parents let us go and like spend the night with my sister. And I remember one incident. We were just sitting there, and that house always gave me the creeps. Any house that my sister lived in, even the house she's in today, it always gives me the creeps. And I'm like, I don't know if you're like cursed with something or if something's following you around. I don't know. And I've told her this. And I remember their back patio door, like screen door. They had the door open, so it was just a screen door that was locked. And my brother-in-law was like cooking pizza for us. He was making pizza for us. And all of a sudden, this door, the screen door, flies open. I mean, it's not windy. It's not like abnormally windy or anything like that. The door flies open and then slams back. And we all shook. I remember screaming because it happened so violently. I remember like screaming. I was like, oh gosh, I was probably like 9 or 10. It was locked, like the hinge was locked If you have a spooky story that you would like to share with me, like your own personal encounter with stuff like this, please do email me your story. You can find my email in the description below. I would love to read your spooky, spooky, spooky stories. I love spooky stuff and the unexplained and the unknown and strange and weird. You guys, that is going to wrap up today's video. I hope you enjoyed hearing me read some of these creepy stories and talk about some of my own personal stories. So, until next time, my name is Sky. I hope you have a chilling, chilling evening.